Since their inception, Sonic games have always had a competitive aspect. The replayability of the classic games comes from trying to beat the level as fast as possible, not to mention the many local multiplayer race modes throughout the series. In this video, we're going to go over games whose main purpose is competition, meaning it doesn't exist as a side mode or extra unlockable, and see what potential they have as a competitive Sonic game. First up on our list is Sonic the Fighters. Initially releasing in 1996, this game is a traditional 3D fighter with a Sonic spin. Using the same engine as one of Sega's other fighters, the Fighting Vipers series, this was Sonic's first fully 3D appearance. The game has many differences from a traditional fighting game besides the aforementioned 3D, like having a limited amount of blocks using the barrier system. Each time you block, a barrier that you use takes damage, and if it breaks, it's gone forever. Lose all 5 barriers and you can't block anymore, leaving you more vulnerable to the opponent. Running out of barriers doesn't mean you're completely out of luck, however, as the other main defensive option is called sidestepping. This allows your character to step out of the way of any attack, leaving your opponent open to be countered. This game also operates on a 3-button attack system, 1 button for blocking, 1 for punching, and 1 for kicking. This is unlike most traditional fighters, which have light, medium, and heavy options for both. As a semi-traditional fighting game, the competitive aspects are pretty cut and dry. However, this game's competitive community is still blossoming. The Sonic the Fighters Discord is very active, and online tournaments are held pretty often if any of you viewers want to get into the game. Recently, there was a Sonic the Fighters tournament at Combo Breakers 2024, which was the biggest Sonic the Fighters tournament to date. If you want to play the game for yourself, it's still available on the current generation of Xbox or the PS3 if you want to do that for some reason. You can also play on PC using the RPCS3 emulator.
Sweet! Time to party!
Our next game is Sonic Battle for the Game Boy Advance. This is another fighting game, this time taking an isometric point of view. The game is more Smash Bros style, with up to 4 players, an attack button, jump button, block button, and special button. The special moves in this game operate on a rock paper scissors system. Every time you respawn, you select your ground special, air special, and a special that you will resist against. If an opponent hits you with a special move that you have resistance against, you will take no damage. Another mechanic is the heal/insta-kill bar. When you hold down block, an animation will play and your health will start to go up, along with the other bar just above the health bar. Different characters fill both these bars at different speeds, but the end result is the same. When the top bar is full, the player will flash white, and hitting an opponent with any special that they don't have resistance towards will instantly take their stock. However, if the opponent does happen to have resistance to the special you use, their bar is instantly filled once they're hit by the attack. Unfortunately, from my research, this game doesn't really have much of a competitive community, which is a shame as this game is really underrated.
Alright, bring it on!
The Sonic Riders series probably has the most competitive potential out of any Sonic game, being the most mechanically diverse from any other games in their genre. Starting with the first Riders game, the main concept of this game is resource management. Your extreme gear needs air to function, and your air gauge fills up from tricks done off of ramps, as well as being found in item boxes. Another thing you can find in item boxes, as well as lying around the stage, are rings. Collecting a certain number of rings allows your air gauge to upgrade in size. Why would you need this upgrade, you may ask? And the answer to that question is boosting. With a simple press of the B button, or the circle button if you play on PS2 you little freak, you can gain a burst of speed that takes a chunk of air out of the gauge. While in this boosting state, colliding with another rider will attack them and slow them to a stop. The game also follows a typing system similar to that of Sonic Heroes, with speed, fly, and power characters. These typings allow certain characters to access special shortcuts that others cannot. For example, flight characters can glide off of certain ramps to go into air booster chains. Speed characters can use rails, and power characters can punch stuff, which also works against obstacles like the cars in Metal City. This game is great for one-on-one competition because it has much less randomness than games like Mario Kart, where the items play a huge factor in who wins a race. Unlike Mario Kart, Sonic Riders is all about skill. The competitive community for Sonic Riders is probably the largest out of any Sonic game, mostly due to the efforts of mod developers like the Tournament Edition team and the DX team, keeping the game fresh with new balancing changes and mechanics. I won't be going in depth on either mod, but there will be links to the Discord servers of both in the description. The Sonic Riders Tournament Edition Discord server hosts multiple tournaments monthly, so if you want to get on the action, that's the place. The sequel to this game, Sonic Riders Zero Gravity, although being less mechanically advanced, still brings something to the table with its gear change system. Since this game does away with the air system and instead has the gravity gauge, the ring upgrades instead upgrade your extreme gear. Some upgrades do what you'd expect, adding extra functionality to the existing properties of the gear, but others can transform the gear into a different vehicle entirely. Other mechanics include a dash move that sends you flying forward and pulls in objects that gives you extra speed when you crash into them, as well as a move for turning sharp corners. That's not as good as a drift, but it's what we have, so. Zero Gravity also has a mod called Regravitified, I think that's how you say it, which adds back some features from the first game like boosting and I think drifting, as well as mechanics like gear changing on the fly. Although I am a former Sonic Freerider speedrunner, I will not be talking about Sonic Freeriders because the competitive aspects are nullified by their reliance on motion controls. Even though the version of the game that I played didn't have any motion controls, the level design was clearly designed around motion controls. Finally, we get to the honorable mentions. Speedruns were not mentioned because they're just a different way of playing a normal game, and by that logic, I'd have to talk about every Sonic game. Sonic R, as well as the All-Star series and Sonic Drift series, can be considered competitive. The reason they don't get an in-depth explanation is because their mechanics are mostly self-explanatory, or in the case of Sonic R, not very fun to play, as well as having little to no possibility of a competitive community being fostered, as the games are either offline only or dead. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I want to hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of the summer, and you guys would be a great help in achieving that. Until next time, peace.